welcome to the Movement Clinic. My name is Emily, and today I'm breaking down Dolphin pose for you, which is essentially down dog, but with the forearms on the mat. This pose requires a lot of strength in our upper body, chest, shoulders, abs. I mean, it's just a big, kind of powerful pose. And hopefully we can create a little bit more ease as we start to kind of break down what is required of us. So hop onto your mats with me. And a couple of things I want to go over with the variations of Dolphin pose, which will ultimately lead to variations of forearm balancing like Pincha Mayurasana and all of the variations of that wonderful inversion. So we can either bring the palms together in sort of this prayer variation with the elbows underneath shoulders, or hands can be separated, forearms parallel, elbows still underneath shoulders. The actions here remain the same. If we're here, we're still squeezing our forearms towards one another as though we were hugging a block in between our forearms, or a book or whatever between our forearms. Or even here, we're still pressing our forearms in, or you can also press the L space of your thumb and forefinger in towards one another here, which has that same forearms internally rotating or squeezing in. Now, the other part of this is the external rotation of the upper arm bone, which when our arms come up overhead looks a little bit more like internal rotation. But really, we're just clearing the shoulder from these bones so that we create more room for active extension in the shoulder, or flexion in the shoulder. So let's go ahead and find this pose. Now, make sure that the back of your body, hamstrings are open, that you're warmed up. Again, this does take and demand a lot of us in our bodies, so don't come into it cold by any means. Or watch this and kind of try to listen to the cues and apply before you go into maybe the dolphin peak pose practice that I have for you here, okay? So we're gonna go through both variations with the forearms. I'm gonna start first by lowering onto my forearms from a tabletop position. And one of the kind of standard and easy ways to know if your elbows are lined up underneath your shoulders is to come down onto forearms and then try to wrap your hands around opposite elbows. And if you're able to grab opposite elbows, then you're not too wide. And then you can plant the palms. Now, I like to get the meat of my forearms inside of my forearms. And why is this? Because it helps me to maintain that external rotation of my upper arm bones while I squeeze the L space of my thumb and forefinger towards one another. But palms are going to be spread comfortably wide, planted down, root down through all four corners of the palms. Press forward and down through the forearms and elbows to feel that active pressing away. So you can already see my hips are shifting back, my toes are tucked under, pause. Now, from here, try to turn your armpits to face one another or wrap your triceps back, whichever makes most sense. You'll see as I do that, my shoulders kind of plug back and down into my shoulder sockets. Keep that. Neck stays long and soft. Lengthen your hips out of your armpits and out of your ribs. Keep side bodies long, ribs long, but squeeze the low ribs into the back of the body. Lift your heart into the back of your body. Keep that. Toes tucked under. Lift your hips slowly up and back. Knees can stay super bent here. Now, press forward and down through the forearms and palms and elbows again. Hips will shift back, Walk your feet forward, lengthen hips, back, back, back. Draw the low belly up and in, squeeze the low ribs together. Maybe start to lengthen your heels down to the mat to press the legs towards straight. Dolphin pose. And now slowly lower to the knees and walk the hands back to sit up. Now, super common here, and I even felt it in that variation, is to have sort of that pinching sensation in the shoulders. It's just as I actively work out these shoulder muscles, they get big, the mobility kind of suffers, and so I have to do a lot of active mobility drills as well, which I have on here if you want to check out too. But it's okay. The pinching is okay. It will come and go. Hopefully, ultimately, if we continue to work on the mobility, it'll go. But for now, don't worry about it, okay? How I remedy the pinching is by changing up the position of my forearms and my hands. So now for this more prayer position, right? So let's come back to our tabletop, lower to the forearms. Make sure that the elbows are stacked underneath shoulders by grabbing opposite elbows, making sure they're not too close, not too wide. If they're too close, you'll ultimately probably just end up noticing it's really hard to move your head in between your arm bones. So lengthen those forearms out in front of you, bring your palms to meet. And even here, I like to make sure that the kind of this fleshy part of my forearms is moved in. So I kind of move it in towards the midline. Press forward and down through the pinky edge side of my finger and my forearms and elbows. I start to shift the hips back slightly. Wrap the triceps back. So hug the arm bones down and into the shoulder sockets. Armpits turn to face one another. That's serratus anterior turning on. Absorb the low ribs into the back of the body. Lift my heart into the back of the body. That also will help turn on serratus, which keeps our shoulder blades wide and on our back. Now I'm going to press back through my forearms until my hips shift back enough for my ears to come through my upper arm bones, toes tuck under. Keep pressing forward and down. Keep lifting the front of the body into the back of the body. Ribs, heart, belly, and lift hips up and back. Now for me, this feels much nicer. Nod your head yes, shake your head no. I'm going to walk my feet up a little bit closer. And I'm going to press my thigh bones back, lengthen my inner heels down, even if my knees are bent. Okay, knees can stay bent the whole time. Depends on how much room you have in your hamstrings. But we're still lengthening hips out of armpits, pressing forward and down actively through those forearms, and finding lots of stability in that front line of the body. We're not just dumping it forward, we're hugging it up and in. And as you're ready, lower on down. Yeehaw. So, dolphin pose, the beginnings of it. Think about those options that you have. What feels good for you right now? What variation in the forearms is best? Work with that for a little while. Start to work with some shoulder mobility as well. So you can come into that really nice active flexion in the shoulder. Fine-tune the nuancing of the external rotation of the upper arm bone and the internal rotation or squeezing in of the forearms. That hugging, drawing in and lifting up into the back line of the body with the abs and the ribs and the heart, right? So forearms can stay nice, or shoulder blades can stay nice and wide across the back. So back body is spacious, front body is drawn in. Hey, all of these little things will help you hopefully find a nice, comfortable dolphin while you build strength towards maybe a bigger inversion practice, forearm balance, Pincha Mayurasana, arm balancing, or maybe not, maybe just strengthening the shoulders and creating more space in the shoulders. All right, that's all for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, requests are always welcome. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.